searching for signs, lost in the sand. Whispers of fate, echoes of dreams in the dark slate. Nothing's as it seems. Flip the cards, turn around. Mysteries we have found. In the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance. Ghostly figures, guiding light. Readers and seekers in the night. Hopes and fears, written in gold. Truth appears as stories unfold. Flip the cards, turn around. Mysteries we have found. In the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance. Ghostly figures, guiding light. Readers and seekers in the night. Hopes and fears, written in gold. Truth appears as stories unfold. Flip the cards, turn around. Mysteries we have found. In the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance.
Hello, Jenna. Hello, everybody else. So this is the MyTarot Tarot Tuesday. So it was requested that, or people thought it was a good idea. So I got a good response from the last one. So I thought, why not keep going with it? And I did end up getting a couple questions also. So first off, I hope everybody's having that amazing day, that amazing week so far. It's only Tuesday, so even if we're not having that amazing week yet, we can always, start it again. So if anybody has any questions, hello, Jenna, how are you? I hope you are doing well. So yeah, I can take any questions. So the past 2 weeks I've been doing, or the past 2 months, been doing training. And Jenna, you can probably relate to this because now I need to really watch myself. I'm going to post the video from the last training, which was Demystifying the Minors. And oh my gosh, if I said any more times when I'm sitting there listening to this and I'm getting ready to load it and edit and do this, it's like, could I have possibly said, no? So I need to get a sticky and put it right here. So, but did the Demystifying the Minors. That was a lot of fun. Before that, we had done the majors and went through that. So a couple of the questions that were brought up. So one of them was, what about other decks? As I was explaining, because reading the Oracle decks and other ones that are a little bit more obscure and things like that. Because it's one of the things I kind of point out in the training. And they had an Oracle deck. But I always explain that we read to the deck that we have. So I have this amazing deck here called Mystical Moments. This deck was created by somebody who they were given the keywords, they were given the information about the deck, what they mean, the words and things, but they didn't know the tarot, and so they were told to use their inspiration based on what the definition is and what the keywords are. And I mean, they did an amazing job. Here we have the Hierophant, which is an owl, and see there's a little woman sitting, on a tree there. That's really lovely, and I'm just kind of pulling it up. Look what she has for the Chariot, slow and steady. is I'm reckoning how she interprets it. So this is kind of an example, as compared to every book is written for what? All the books are written for the Rider-Waite Smith, which we all know, or like we all know it, yeah, which is the one that is the most popular. But when we're reading for somebody or we're reading for ourselves, we are creating a story. We want our story to be based on what we see. So, for example, this Queen of Pentacles in this beautiful deck here is a doe with her young. Well, I mean, with a rabbit. It's a doe with a rabbit there. So, you're going to interpret. You need to tell a story. And you need to have the story in your head. So, just memorizing the keywords from the Rider-Waite Smith, doesn't help to create that story, because there's what I always say, what the book says and what the cards say. So for that answer to her is that even when you're doing an oracle deck or a regular tarot deck or whichever one, you're telling a story. Each one of these is just another panel in your story. Yeah, and so you need to create a story for ourselves that says, why did the universe say, let's pick this particular, look at this death. Why did the universe say, let's do this deck, and why does death look like this to me? Death, which means transition. Death means acceptance, and it may not be easy, but we can see that she's got flowers growing and things like that. So whatever deck we're using, that's the story. So, the minors, in particular, I used the numerology for the minors, and I used the the different correspondences, whether it is earth, coins are earth, swords are air, wands are fire, cups are water. And so it seemed to come back into focus here. There we go. Am I back in? Well, my camera seems to be having issues with focus. So, and that's because I am just doing weird stuff with the camera. Let's see if it finds me again. Maybe I'll just lean in like this. Hello, Holly. So, but as we're saying, with the minors and the numerology, it seemed that it kind of helped. And so I want to just let people know that I'm going to post my documentation for the minors, where I go through all the different correspondences and things like that, because it seemed to get a really good response from that and seemed to help people. So if anybody has any questions about the minors, any of the correspondences or anything like that, I am more than glad to assist with that. So, I was also asked about the different types of readings, and that helps because I'm going to go, what the big request was the Celtic Cross, because there's like 10 different ways to do it. But I was asked about shadow readings, what a shadow reading is, and why we do shadow readings. So shadow readings are not something in particular that I do for somebody that I don't know, because a shadow reading, it's essentially using the tarot to look at our own shadow aspects. It's about what we keep in our psyche. We all have, things that are kind of buried. So if we think of the tarot cards, like I often do, is like a Rorschach test. You hold up the ink blot test, that classic one, and somebody might see a butterfly. Somebody else might see their mother. So with the shadow reading, the goal is to go a little bit deeper, to maybe touch on things that might be difficult. So, and I'm going to give an example because I have a really good deck for that. So for shadow reading, I think this is a great way to explore what a shadow reading is. Because it's for, exploring the unconsciousness. It's for looking at, remove this. It's for finding a deeper self-awareness. So, again, let's see. This deck here is called the Somnia. And look at this. And what's really amazing about this deck is that there are no faces. It's very dreamlike. It's very, it just seems to touch the subconscious. So if you imagine this deck here and you're doing a shadow spread, what affects me from the past, what's affecting me today, and what's going to affect me tomorrow. A deck like this, for example, is a good example. So like the King of Wands. I mean, it's very kind of it just seems to reach into the subconscious. But you can imagine that when we start with the meditation, we start with the breathing. The one thing that I always do before starting a reading is because people come in and they'll say, I'll ask, what is it that you would like to talk about? And inevitably, people will start fishing stuff out because it's like when you go to the doctor. You don't even think about it. And then you get into the doctor's office and you forget the 3 things that you really came in there for. So what I do is I have a spread. It's the way that I modify the French spread. And maybe I should actually do a, you know what? Since we're going to be talking about spreads today, I'm going to show you how I do this because this is a spread that I use on almost everybody who comes in. So this is my question spread. I want you to just imagine, you're not even sure what your question is. So some people will come in and say, what's my love life? Or what is this? Or what is that? And it's like, that's not the question. That's not what's paramount or important in their life right now. So I have this spread. The French spread I had read is one of the earliest documented tarot spreads. But I modified it to be a question spread because I will say to somebody before we do the read, I say, let's do this question spread because even if I give you an answer, if you don't know what the question is, then what are you going to do with it? So to give you an answer, to give you an idea of my question spread, and I would do this before the Celtic Cross. I would do this before doing a shadow reading. So, and this is just habit where I always do my split here. But I'm going to say, it's a way to start a dialogue for somebody. So this is, I'm going to go to the full desk to make this easier. Okay. Let me make this zoom in a little bit for you. Okay, is that going to do it? Okay, so this over here. This is the situation. This is what can help or hinder. This is what's underneath. This is a possible outcome. And this card touches all the other cards. And Holly, so the deck I use for shadow readings is Murder of Crows. Oh! And she means this particular deck. And I'll pull this out also to show some people what this wonderful deck is. Because you are correct. It is good for shadow readings. So, but the question spread. So, we're sitting there and we ask, what is the situation? And here we have the Three of Wands. Wands are fire and energy and growth and things like that. And threes, are about moving forward and growth. So when you have the Three of Wands, it's like having a project or something that we've started on and a decision is made. So whether it's something at work or whether it's a relationship, we don't know yet because we're going to turn over what can help or this may actually trigger right off the bat. And then we have what helps or hinders, the Five of Swords. I call this kind of, the Five of Swords is like an ego card to me. It's where, because swords are anxiety and thoughts and ideas, and fives are always a challenge. So here already, we have something that we want to accomplish, but the anxiety behind it. Now a conversation can start because we see the anxiety now. We see that, what is it? Is it about starting a new job? Is it about needing to get something done? And then this is what's underneath, which is the Ten of Cups. So cups are spirituality, emotions, and feelings. So as I'm talking to the person, I'll explain, what's underneath these. This is the support that we do have. We all have some kind of support system, and whether we really know it or not, this is what helps us and supports us and is there for us, and you may not even know it. And now we're sitting here, and instead of saying about romance, because so far this is more about trying to accomplish something, but now a dialogue is going. And then I say this is the possible outcome, which is the Nine of Coins. And so what is it that we're trying to accomplish? We're not done yet, but the possible outcome, even through the anxiety, even through those things, there is this positiveness, this drive to get it done. And I tell you what I would ask him at this point right here is that if we notice that all four suits are here, we have wands, cups, swords, and coins. This is something that's affecting all aspect of their lives. So this is a whole conversation. I'm not seeing any, and I'll say, I know you asked about romance, or finding a boy, but that's not what the issue is it? And inevitably, the conversation comes up. And I explained this is the card that touches all the other cards. And it's the Four of Swords. So now we have our two swords. So fours are about stability. Fours are about, like four legs on a table. And swords are our thoughts. So then we start talking about the spread itself and what do we notice. And we start the conversation. I would say in this conversation that we recognize the anxiety. Sometimes looking at this, it's a free-floating anxiety. What is it really? Is it fear? Because this column right here, and no book is going to say this is a column, but I'm just going to say when we're doing a spread, I've noticed you have a column of Ten of Cups, spirituality, that supports you. You have this inner strength, this calm that you can achieve, and you have this positive outlook. The only thing that's holding us back is our anxiety. So let's talk about the anxiety. And then now we'll have that conversation. And we totally forgot about the question about who they're going to be dating next. So this is also a good foundation now if we're going to do a shadow spread. So And again, a shadow spread, there's several different things to, there's several different, oh, notice I use soft cards for that. Whenever I do my opening, I'll use soft cards. I'll use something that, to find out if a situation is if I don't know the person. I'll pull out something like my wildlife decks or something like that. And based on, what they may be triggered by, I might pull out something like the mystical moments or something. But, so that would lead me to this particular deck, which is the shadow deck. So again, it's basically doing that first spread is hypnotic also, and getting myself when I'm doing it into the right frame. So then, and you want to set the mood, you want to make sure that you've got pencil and paper if needed, and then we can start doing our spreads, whether it's the Celtic Cross or whether we have a specific spread that we have for shadow readings. There's hundreds of them out there. And based on the information we've already gathered, how sensitive do we need to be? But this deck here is one of my favorites for shadow spreads because it just seems to touch the inside. And I don't want to say it's a nightmare. I want to say it's more dreamlike without being nightmare-like. So the other deck, so the reason I have the Murder of Crows right next to me is because sometimes, especially if I'm doing an event, and you see some gothy people come up, gothy like me, hey, gothy people come up, and or you're doing some kind of, or somebody comes in and you just ask them because they just seem to have that bent, whatever it is. The Murder of Crows. Look at this. So imagine if there is a crow cult. Okay, so the deck is all black and white, but look at how the people are actually wearing crow masks, and they're blending in as crows. Look at this. And keep in mind that crows are messengers. So this is another one of those beautiful decks that touch on the subconscious. And again, sometimes you want to sometimes we need the shock. Not so much the shock. I'm trying to think of the right word for it. But sometimes we need something that's going to make us gasp and say, oh man, that reminds me of, I had this dream once, and and when somebody starts talking about their dreams, and when somebody starts talking about how they're feeling, this is going to trigger some dark stuff. So you need to be really careful. And again, I will not do a shadow spread for somebody I do not know or if I have not read for them before and have an understanding. So those are two of the decks that I use. So now what? Well, my favorite spread is a triage encroche, which I use the majors only. So let me see here. I'm going to look that up real quick. Ooh. So I can share this screen over here, my second monitor. So I'm going to have to look that up. What I might try and figure out how to do is like a Zoom, so that we can actually have conversations going back and forth. Because I think that would be more interesting. So, again, what all this comes down to also is we all do the Celtic Cross. So I would be interested. Look at that blur. It's not used to me doing that. But I'm going to do this anyway. So a lot of questions about the Celtic Cross. Zoom would be epic. I know, because I want more of a conversation. And I think, so Jenna, you're more familiar with that than I am. I think that, I think I may pick your brain on that. Here we go. Let's do this. There we go. So for the Celtic Cross, a lot of people do it a lot of different ways, but I'm going to show you a way that actually also, again, I am trained in it for edumatation. Okay, well, that would be awesome, because I think this would be a lot of fun doing that. So, and I was asked about this because I do the Celtic Cross different than a lot of people, because a lot of times people will just set out all the cards all at once. Whereas I don't do that. I start off with 2 cards because, again, I think that the whole thing about the tarot is a dialogue. So I will lay it out. So this is the situation, and this is what crosses you. And then I'll put this aside, and I'll say, here's our situation. It's the Fool. And so I'll start asking, so what is the Fool? The Fool can be, it can be us just merrily going along and not even notice we're walking off a cliff. It's sometimes we're not seeing the obvious. Sometimes, you know, it's a need. Maybe we're carefree, but we'll have that conversation. And then I'll say, but this is what crosses us. And it's our fears. So we have such a carefree nature here. And yet with the moon, you know, and I love telling my story about the moon, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But with the moon, essentially, it's about walking through our fears. Now notice we could stop right here. I had meant to join one of Vincent's Zoom meetings. Sadly, oh, yeah. I've watched his videos. Yeah, I want to do a Zoom. I like talking to people. But notice that if we're doing a Celtic Cross, and again, it's not so much the need to do every single card. It's about finding the answer. So before we realize that the anxiety, you know, if we were going to use that question, there's anxiety. They've started something. They've got this strong pillar. You know, they have this heart. That, you know, this is almost childlike. And yet, again, here's that anxiety that crosses them. What is this that we're, you know, with the moon card, it's one of those things where imagine if it's dark out, you know, it's getting twilight and you want to walk through the, you know, the forest to get to the other side, but you see something off to the left and you have to ask, is that a log or is that something that can jump out of me? And so if this was daylight, you would know it's just a log and you would just walk right through, but it's our fears. It's not trusting our instinct. You know, we might turn around at this point. So the conversation could be, you have this anxiety. What is it that you're afraid of? And they might have the revelation right then and there. And there's no need to even do any other cards. We're done with the Celtic Cross. But instead, we're going to keep talking because now we have a conversation going. And this is the past. This is the near past and this is the near future. And we have the Hermit. Now we have, before we had all those minors. And minors are day-to-day cards. Minors are just welcome to a Tuesday. But we're realizing now that it's the day-to-day stuff. It's not the bears in the woods that get us. It's the mosquitoes. It's the small things. That other spread is talking about the small things. But here we have the study that we've done. We've gone to the mountain. You know, the confidence you get from that. You know, and here, this is our natural, it might be our natural personality, and yet fear guides everything. And this is the near future, which is about walking away from it, which is about letting go. Eights are all about the progress and moving forward. And cups are our emotions and our spirits. So notice that here we were old. We did our study and we did everything, and it's like maybe we have this period where it's like now we are in a transition period, hopefully not walking off a cliff, but because of our fears, and maybe we need to realize that it's like maybe we need to go back to the mountain again. We can have that conversation and just kind of stop right there. But this is the Celtic Cross, so we're going to keep talking. And so we're having our interesting dialogue, and I'll say this is what's underneath and could be influencing us and doesn't, and we don't even know it. And this is the card that people seem all confused about, because now we have a near future and we also have the outcome. Isn't that confusing? And that's where people get confusing, because we have all these future aspects to look at. So this is just a near future. This is a path. This, the way that I explain it, is what we are working towards. This is what our efforts are pointing towards. It's not the outcome. It's not set in stone. Nothing is set in stone with the tarot. But while we put in our efforts, this is where this is where we are going with the type of effort we're putting in. So this is what's underneath. It might be influencing us. And of course, this might all be for me, by the way, because again, we have the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords in that other spread was in the what can help or hinder. And so that's why I'm saying I call this the ego card. This is that card where, you know, when you have Four of Swords, you feel stable. You feel, you know, the Four of Swords were at the center of the other card. But then you've got everything going. You finally find some peace, and somebody throws a wrench into the middle of it, and then just kind of knocks the wind out of us. And that's that anxiety underneath. So all of our actions are being based on that anxiety. So here we are with the Hermit. We've gone to the mountain. We've learned. We've done the things so that we can start moving forward. And this is what we're actually working towards, which is the Hanged Man. So we have so many majors here that we want to pay attention to this. And this is a positive thing, because what is the Hanged Man? So I always explain the Hanged Man as, I always feel better when I'm actually talking to somebody. There I am. Oh, but it did not come back in focus yet. So what is the Hanged Man? So the Hanged Man, as I like, yeah, great old mountain, yeah. The Hanged Man is, I'm going back to this until I figure out what's going on. The Hanged Man. In the Middle Ages, if you saw somebody who was a hanged man, like this, if you're walking into town, you saw somebody hanging by one foot. A lot of people don't realize, and Jen has probably heard me tell this story 100 times, but this would mean that you're a traitor. There's hundreds of pictures that you can find on the internet from Italy and France from the Middle Ages where somebody is hanging by one foot and you're considered a traitor. So what I always explain to somebody is that one person's traitor is another person's hero. They were willing to sacrifice and accept the situation. So when we have it in this position here, this is about all the things, we've taken the time. The hermit is about going to the mountain. The hermit is about going inside, realizing what we need to do. This is not about being confused about what we're doing, about what we want to do, and the knowledge we have. This spread here is the confusion about how we get there. And so, even though we recognize our fears and we're recognizing our anxiety, I love the Marseille. And we're recognizing our anxiety. We are also realizing that we may have to, unlike the Fool, which, maybe because of the anxieties and things, sometimes we just don't want to deal. But we know deep down inside that whatever it is we need to accomplish, we know what we have to do. And regardless of our fears, I would say that whoever this person is, they're doing it. They're willing to accept. They're willing to sacrifice. Sometimes people say the hangman's also about seeing things in a different way because they're hanging. But if you're, as I say, it's like the quote unquote traitor. It's like, yes, because you see things the way they really are. So then I do this as the self, the environment. I do things a little bit different because I always try and include an advice card, because when somebody leaves a reading, everybody needs a focus. They shouldn't be thinking that they need to come back and talk to you because you touched some sensitive nerve. I've seen psychics do this where it's like they open up a nerve, they'll give a shadow reading, they'll do this or that, and then it's like, and we need to dig deeper. And I feel like we need to try and come up with something to work on to move forward. And so I always say, this is the self, this is the environment, this is the advice card, and this is a possible outcome. Yeah, I absolutely agree about the advice cards. So we have this whole positive thing going on here. And even though we are acknowledging anxieties and fears, we have to acknowledge that internal core, that inner voice that is telling us we can do this. We need to acknowledge that from this spread right here. So then if this card is the self, remember that center card that we had before was the Four of Swords. Now we can have a whole conversation. And by the way, I didn't have to put these out. Again, I'm just going to say with the Celtic Cross so far, is that this might have been enough. This is what you're working towards. If somebody seems to be having a revelation, I might not put these cards out. We may spend the next 15 or 20 minutes talking about what we have here, because this is the revelation. The advice is, believing that they need to do, this is the near future, and that they're what they want to do, what they're working towards. I mean, the Hanged Man. Imagine if you have a family like mine who is from Southern Maryland. People who have different political views. I'm not going to go into anything like that. Different political views. This is about acknowledging those anxieties and those fears of being different. We are different. And yet we're going to walk our own path. And what we're moving towards is a willingness to sacrifice and accept that our path is going to be different. Do we need to continue on with this conversation? As far as laying out more cards? Sometimes no, because this is a really very deep spread right here. This is enough to get somebody touching their heart. But since this does tie in with that other spread, and remember that other spread was about our anxieties, again, this shows that positive inner sense that we have with the Four of Swords, which was the center. And so this is our environment, which is about our crossroads and our decision making. And there's our swords again. And then because I'm a showman, I will show the possible outcome, which is the Queen of Swords. And so with the Queen of Swords, this is what they are. This is the possible outcome. This is the tough love card. And if I said this was my family and I'm going to be different, it's like, I love you. I understand what you're saying. But I cannot abide. I'm going to be stronger than that. I am the queen, and cards are gender neutral. Cards are gender neutral, so it's masculine energy and feminine energy. So using this, a mother can love somebody. And when you have a family that maybe has issues with addictions, you may have to let somebody go. I love you enough to let you hurt yourself until you're done hurting. Because swords are thoughts and intellect. We know in our heart, we feel, we want to reach out, but we know intellectually we can't change a person. They have to want to change. So this is a really, really strong spread. And then ultimately, what is the advice card? Oh, man. The advice card is to look for all the positiveness. Today we acknowledged the anxieties. Today we acknowledged the fears. We acknowledge, and these are things that as human beings, we all can share. And then with the Ten of Cups, what is it that you really, really want? Because that's the ultimate goal. And these cards are so notice though that with my spreads, I don't believe in following particular rules. We do that when we're first learning because it's very important to have a foundation. The books are important for a foundation. But I want to go into what we're talking about up here because, well, thank you, Holly. I like my method too. Although it's been honed over the years, and it's like I'll change stuff, and it's like as we grow, we're willing to change. I have several of his books in his first Marseille deck, the SM Mannequin. I have several of his books in his first. So I have no books by him. Can somebody put a link in here? Because, again, the Marseille is my go-to. Sorry, I'm just kind of catching up here. So Tarot Destroyer. Yes, so I did a class on the minors. And we covered the basic gist. My whole thing with the minors, and I can pull that up here too. So let me pull this up. I'm going in there right now. catch up with me here. There we go. Oh, good. Okay. So with the correspondences, so what's a correspondence? A correspondence is a way to relate something, an item, something that we're looking at, relate it to something that we're familiar with. So a coin, what could we relate that to? Well, if we look at the body, we can relate coins to the earth. So in tarot, traditionally, coins are earth, wands are fire, cups are water, and swords are air. So this seemed to really help people when I was talking about, I came up with the different correspondences for it that I actually use. So our feet are the correspondence of being grounded. And then where would wands be then? Fire and energy. And so that would be our midsection, our loins, because that's our passions. And then cups would be our heart. And then our heads would be intellect. So that's another way to look at it. Another way, because we're talking about the Marseille, is that if we imagine what it was like in the 1500s, you know that they're sitting there playing this game. Here, let me show you. Here we go. So here we are with the Moorish Tarot. So 1400s. We have found the cards that they were playing before the original tarot was even invented. So look at these. So if somebody saw coins and it's the 1400s, what would they relate that to? They would obviously relate it to finances, money. And so if we want to relate that to social classes, this would be like merchants. Swords. Who had swords? I always talk about this in my readings. It would be the strategists. It would be the kings. It would be knights. It would be the people who are in the court who make decisions. And so cups. Who would be the cups? That would be the religious class, the spiritual class. And then the swords or the scimitars. This would be, well, here, is that a sword right there? So what is, oh, so let me see here, because I don't actually use these. I guess those are wands. Well, actually, they were originally polo sticks. But this would relate to the peasant class, to the laborers who build things, the creatives, the people that actually do the creative work. So that's another way, especially coming up, I'm going to be doing the next class is a conversation with the court cards. And so I'm going to be using the correspondences again. So we can look at the correspondences as elements. We can look at it as classes. Again, the merchants for the coins, and the wands for the laborers, swords for the court people, so forth and so on. And you'll notice one thing, is that I don't talk about astrology in the Kabbalah. Because until we have a strong foundation, the books that immediately draw people into astrology, it's just going to confuse the heck out of them. So as we're teaching people, as we're talking to people, I've learned through giving classes forever, not just tarot, but I mean business classes, things like that, is that we need to talk to people in their own language instead of trying to impress them with just how, with our knowledge. It's about explaining to them in terms that they would understand. So I'm kind of excited about moving on to having a conversation with the court cards, because in that class I'm literally going to have people play the role of, they're going to learn what the king is, the queen, the knight, and the pages are. And then each person is going to be, let's say, the Queen of Swords again. And I'm going to have people on little slips of paper ask questions. And we're going to choose who's going to answer the question. So, should I get a new job? And then we're going to ask the Queen of Swords, what would your advice be? We'll ask the King of Cups, what's your advice going to be? Because it really is literally just treating them like people, because that's how they would have been seen in the Middle Ages. So, let's see. Need to, from the right to end by using 3 dots next to the person's name. Oh, you rock. So I don't have to, I see what you're saying. If I do this, okay. So I use Streamlabs, and the chat there does not give me that, but I have this here also. And I should just give everybody that ability. Okay. Activity report. I'm going to report you all. Add as moderator. That's awesome. Jenna, operator. Because I do want to get those... I do want to get the links for the person that you're talking about, because I am not familiar with that. And Jenna, I'm probably really going to pick your brain, and I really do want to learn how to do a Zoom, because I would really love to just have a conversation. And this is only my second one. But I have a tarot creator that we're going to have on here coming up. And etc., etc. So if people have ideas, I am so all for any ideas moving forward. But with that, I don't want to bore anybody more than we have to. So with that, any other questions or anything like that? Any thoughts? Anything that people might help me with? I love Marseille because I don't use esoteric symbolism, religion, astrology. I use numbers. See, me and you, Holly, we're like, that's me and you. I mean, I see the importance that can be placed on those other things, and especially, you know, it's cool to know the Rider-Waite-Smith has all the hidden esoteric stuff. You know, and I do have, you know, I mean, I've looked into it. I haven't connected to it. Part of me actually is thinking, do I need to start looking at the Kabbalah just as another form of meditation, just as another way to keep focusing and learning and growing? So I think I might do that. And if I do that, I always find that when I'm learning something, that gets incorporated into videos. So if I start learning the Kabbalah, I will also start incorporating that and say, this is the cool thing about this, but I'll try and always use, again, regular English. So, Jenna, you are amazing. Tarot meetup. So, Maria. Do I know you? Are you from the area? Are you from our area here? Yeah, it's compliment. Yeah, exactly. Yep, you are absolutely right. But Maria, let me see something here. So, exactly though. And I'm going to be posting the, I thought you'd said something about that. Just to let people know I have an issue. And what that issue is that I don't remember people, particularly if I give them readings, because I sometimes, I don't want to say it's a trance, But sometimes I get so, I just go someplace else when I'm doing readings for people. And if you notice, if you look at my videos, I always end up closing my eyes because it's almost like going to the back. And so when somebody walks into one of the stores that I read at, it's just funny because I may not recognize them. And so that's why I'm so friendly and outgoing, because it's like I may have met them. I may have talked to them for an hour and I don't remember. But once they say something, and then they'll trigger memories. And it's like, then if it's appropriate, things will come back. But I have lots of RWS, but since I picked up Marseille, ancient, I don't use it. You know, I think I use the Marseille, I mean the Rider-Waite Smith now. It's out of habit, but for the most part, you know, I just use my deck. And I talk about it often because I'm going to be upset when this deck finally dies, because this deck has probably got about, I can't even imagine how many hours of work. So I love this deck. It is the CBD Tarot Ben Dove deck. Love his book. But it is so bright and white that, I mean, it was this white when I got it. It was kind of off-putting. So what I did was I took brown shoe polish and I spent hours upon hours aging my deck. Little bit of shoe polish, just rubbing it in, rubbing it in, rubbing it in, so that my decks get nice and dirty, so that is not what it looks like when it comes out. I mean, you know, when you first buy the deck. Again, it is this white. So for the tens of hours I spent learning my deck, aging it, it's starting to fray on the edge of some of these and things like that. And when I decide to move to another deck, I'll even do a video on how I aged them, because it does, you can't really tell, but some of these stained really nice. Like that just looks kind of dirty, which I love, because that is probably 20 minutes worth of work just polishing and polishing and polishing. So it's the effort that I put into my deck. So anyway, here we are. It is 6 o'clock, and another hour has gone by. Does anybody have any other tips, tricks, or suggestions? Because the next time I think I'm going to end up... Oh, what do we got here? Somebody's actually sending me a message. Oh, well, also, it's official. I am now a vice president for the Temple of the Roses, which is a it is a Wiccan church that caters towards the solitary witch. So yes, so I am now on the board and a vice president, and so I get to work with them. I've done some stuff before. Do I have the 1JJ? Oh my goodness. Let's talk tarot. I think it might be in this stack here. Don't distract me. I was actually about to get off the phone. I've got all these stacks. So the 1JJ. So I've got the Van Boer. I've got, let's see, I still need to do my opening for this, but I got the Cartier. Here's my 1JJ. So, do you know why I basically went looking for the 1JJ? Not to mention, it's like, well, the big deal with that is that in the TV show Dark Shadows. I've literally watched all 1,200 episodes, and it's from 1968. So they must have gone to, it's in New York. Whatever esoteric shop they went to, this is the one that Dark Shadows would use when she pulled out the Tower of Destruction. Here is my Jacques Vaville and my Jacob Jaeger and my the Italian deck. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the guy's name. So, and this is another one I need to do an opening for. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do a deboxing for this. Instead of Dice Goblin, you're a tarot deck. Well, Mina is Mina, my partner. She went on an obsession with buying dice. Here's a cool deck that's out of print. And so a guy in Switzerland, was it Germany? He wanted a tarot deck made, and there was a cartoonist from Switzerland, if I remember the story correctly. And so the cards actually tell a story if you go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so this is a really cool deck. Yes, I agree. Loving on both. So maybe one day I'll just do something on historical tarot. Because I have like 120 decks. Here's a Czechoslovakian one it's a occult deck. And then I do like my Marseille. So this one right here, this is our Jodorowsky. And I love, I don't agree with everything that he says in his books. I don't think the High Priestess is sitting on an egg trying to hatch it. But he influenced me more than most anybody else I can think of. Because he talks about sitting in a cafe and just reading for people. Not charging. It's all about the giving back. And it really affected me. So I have my Dodell deck and another version of the Converse. So maybe we should just have a Zoom meeting where we can all go back and forth and share our decks. And this is the original Minors. So this is the Mumlek deck. So see how before the tarot came across to before cards, even playing cards came across to Spain, this is the deck that they were playing in the Middle East. So see how we have the polo sticks here. So I think that we should do a show and tell show. I like that. I think that would be amazing. Because then I need to put this as my Spanish deck. I think that would be amazing. Have a show and tell day. And we could take like 2 hours. Would love to do a deck swap too. I have a few. I just don't. I am with you on that because if you saw the number of decks I have over here, like I say, literally 120 plus decks. Yeah, it's ridiculous. So anyway, I am going to let everybody go. If you have anything that you would like, you can contact me either through here. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Or you can go to my website, which is MyTarot.org. You can see, just do Jamie, Jamie, at MyTarot.org or info@MyTarot. So, if you have 1,000, you'll have a lot. Yeah. Well, if I have 1,000 books, how about that? Right now I'm reading. Oh, geez. Who said that? Who said that? Holly. Hold on, I'm coming back. We are so on the same page. So I'm sorry. So I'm going to stop getting distracted here because I will keep talking all day. Take care, everybody. Make me go away. Okay, I'm leaving now. I will see you all next Tuesday, every morning, also for the meditation. Thanks again. This was way too much fun for me. Jenna, I'm going to really want to pick your brain because I want to hear from everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. Take care.
Stars in the sky, cards in my hand, searching for signs, lost in the sand. Whispers of fate, echoes of dreams in the dark slate. Nothing's as it seems. Flip the cards, run around. Mysteries we have found. In the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance. Ghostly figures, guiding light. Readers and seekers in the night. Hopes and fears, written in gold. Truth appears as stories unfold. Flip the cards, run around. Mysteries we have found. In the shadows we dance. Take a chance, take a chance. Ghostly figures, guiding light. Readers and seekers in the night. Hopes and fears, written in gold. Truth appears as stories unfold. Flip the cards, turn around. The stories we